Okay. Good morning, class. So today we will be discussing for your mid 100. So that will be the foundations of midwifery practice, and we will start with your module 1, and that will be the concept of man. So as you can see in your photocopies or in your module, man is an individual human, a bipedal primate mammal, or Homo sapiens, that is anatomically related to a great apes, but distinguished especially by notable development of brain with a resultant capacity of articulate speech and abstract reasoning. So in short, man is capable of walking. What is mentioned by bipedal mammal. Speech, reasoning. Okay. So basically, as we all claims of that we are on the top of the food chain because we are able to communicate by speech, and more often we are able as well to give reasons or specify our acts. Okay? So muna siya ang mga giingon nga sa atong mga buhaton as tao na ay mga rason. Okay, kung sinahitabo sa tuan na ay rason. But we are also be able to communicate non-verbally by gestures, other things like behavioral responses. So muna siyang usually anong lahi ang tao sa ubang species. Now, characteristics of man. So we also have this one as known as man as a person. So as you can see in your definition, man as a person is a concrete individual substance endowed with reasons. As I mentioned a while ago, a person or man should always have reasons. So, in short, tananggihin mo sa tao na agyoy reason. Okay? So, we are guided by our reason. Nganong ihimo ninimo kay tungod, nganong ihimo ka niya kay basin tungod. So, everything has a reason when it comes to man. But when it comes to other species, their reasoning may be specified, like for protection, like for example, ang iro, ipahit ka sa iro nga nay anak, kay imuhang ipasakit na ng anak. So that would basically a basic act of protection. Okay? Now, next would be man as a substantial unity. So, as the definition, a union of body and soul. Man possesses a complete specific nature. Man is not merely an individual substance with a unique existence, a self-subsistent substance. Okay, so it's kind of balik-balik ang iyang definition. But as you can see, substantial unity. When it comes to religious explanation, this will fall up with a unity. Like what will happen is the body of man is a temple for the Holy Spirit, right? So in short, this is a union of not one entity. So we also have our soul. Most likely, this is more on biblical reasoning, but since this is also a definition of how man is consists of. So that is also included in this one. Okay. So man, the other one is man is an autonomous being. So because of his rational nature, man is endowed with intelligence to understand the world and freedom to self-govern in the world. So in short, autonomous being. We're able to make rules for ourselves, and as well as we're able to understand and follow the rules. Okay. Next would be a man as a social being. So there is a saying that no man is an island. Social being. Unlike other species, when we give birth, when man gave birth, we are able to nurture it, take good care of it, and love it for as long as we live, or sometimes as long as they're capable of living too. But unlike sa ubang species, sa kabalo na sila mukhaon, biyaan na sila. Dogs, cats, sa kabalo na sila mukhaon, kabalo na sila magbuhay silang kaugalingon, pwede na sila mag-inusara. But for us, for us men, that will be also some kind of, it depends of your nature and your culture. Here in the Philippines, we usually be with our family, with our mothers, father, with our parents, even believe longer life and live life with them. It's because it is our nature with a family-oriented persons, people. But in other nations, technically, the children, when they reach 18 years old or 21 years old, they are independent already. Okay, but that depends. Well, as human, we can live independently, but we cannot never forget our parents. So in short, bisan pa independent na ta, sana ta mapaingon, but kung kinahanglan ta sa tong parents, we're still there. Okay? Now, the last one would be a man possesses dignity and rights. Of course. Dignity is related to goodness, excellence, and perfection. The characteristics of man that point to his dignity are intelligence, freedom, and love. Well, technically, we can set rules, follow rules, and we are dignified, and we also have our rights. So that means everything. Okay, now the next part will be attributes of a human being. So the attributes would be the capacity to think or conceptualize on the abstract level. In short, we're able to think and analyze. So, there are some scenarios nga mag-ingon sila nga una-una sa before you speak or before you click. Okay, guys, oh sorry, full memory. Okay. Going back, so the tendency to seek and maintain territory. Well, technically, yeah, we also have our own territories because kung nanatay pamilya, we tend to provide much. Basically, is a shelter or the home that we call our own. So that marks our territory for that. It is not somehow because we are also capable of owning lands. By legal basis. So technically, we already have our territories when it comes to that one. First, ang bahay natin, our home, and the land that we own or establishment that we own. So that marks our territory. The tendency, the ability to use verbal symbols as language, a means of developing and maintaining culture. Speech. lahat naman tayo talaga may iba-ibang lingwahe, may iba-ibang dialect. So in that way, we're able to communicate for that specific language or dialect as a human being. So hindi lahat ng tao iisa ang sinasabi. So there are a lot of people having different languages, different dialects to communicate, and that will be depends on your culture. But the good thing about this one is, as human beings, we're capable of learning those languages. Okay, so unlike other species, like the dog cannot learn how to meow, or the cat cannot learn how to bark. Same goes with other species, but humans are capable of doing so. But in certain ways, that will be human to human. So hindi naman po pwede na tao ka mag-aaral ka paano tumahol, right? So that will be, it depends on the species. But as human, we're able to communicate by means of symbol languages, symbols. As I mentioned a while ago, non-verbal communications. Even though na hindi tayo magkakapareho ng sinasabi, but we tend to gesture it, or by movements, or by explaining into movements, then we can communicate. Unlike other species, that there is no other way to communicate to their other species rather than like barking or something like that. Okay? So, a man as an individual, or individuality is the quality of a particular person or thing that distinguishes them from others of the same kind. Each individual is a unique being who is different from every other human being, with different combination of genetics, life experiences, and environmental interactions. When providing care, we need to focus on the client within both a total care and individualized care context. Furthermore, individuality contributes to personal definition of health, wellness, and wellness. So, as you always say, that you cannot compare me to others, or you cannot compare him, her to me. It is because we already have our individuality. So in short, human is unique. Okay? Uniqueness. So that will also distinguish us from other beings. Even though that we also have say, pair of hands, pair of feet, two eyes, nose, lips, ears, same features, we stand, but we do have different personalities. That will connote as, or identify as, that we are unique and we are not the same. Even twins do have different traits. Okay? So there is a dimension. Sorry. Dimensions of individuality. So person's total character. So that will be encompass behaviors, emotional state, attitudes, values, motives, abilities, habits, and appearances. So person's total character. So as in total, lahat, di ba? Self-identity, it encompasses a perception of self as a separate and distinct entity alone, and interactions with others. So, well, dimensions of individuality is how you view yourself, technically. So, you as a person, as a complete person, tapos self-identity, kung ano ka, kung ikaw lang talaga kung ano ka. And then your perceptions, which the way the person interprets the environment or situation, directly affecting how he or she thinks, feels, and acts in a given situation. Well, technically, mangyayari dito is, when it comes to perception and decision making, lahat ng tao iba-iba. May gusto niya ng ganito, gusto ko ng ganito, may rason ako kung bakit gusto ko ng ganito, may rason siya kung bakit gusto niya ng ganyan. So, it is a mere factor of communication. How you communicate to others may provide harmony and understanding. So let's not be selfish, guys. That's it. If there is a possibility that that person wanted to share their opinion, accept it, because that opinion will be theirs. And even though that is contradicting in your opinion, that is how human works. Your opinion will never be my opinion. Okay? Ang opinion mo ay hindi ko opinion. At ang opinion ko ay hindi mo opinion. So we do have our different perceptions on based on the situation. Okay, so moving forward, that will be the concept of holism. Healthcare workers are concerned with the individuals as a whole, complete or holistic person, not as an assembly of parts and processes. Assembly of parts, technically. When applied to healthcare, the concept of holism emphasizes that the medical practitioner must keep the whole person in mind and strive to understand how one area of concern relates to the whole person. Okay. It doesn't mean na sakit yung kamay niya, masakit yung paa niya. You will just focus on those parts. Well, technically that would be necessary. But for example, embolism or a clogging on the artery or veins of the lower extremities. Well, ang clog nandito yan sa upper thigh. For example, nandito sa upper thigh yung clog or yung blockage. Pero ang naapektuhan is yung toes. It doesn't mean that the pain on the toes connotes everything. So all you have to do is assess the person as a whole. Okay? Yun yung sinasabi dito. Na all you have to do is assess your patient or assess the person as a whole, not with a single part. Okay? So, concept of homeostasis. Homeostasis, which means balance. Describe the relative constancy of the internal process of the body, such as blood oxygen and carbon dioxide levels, blood pressures, body temperature, blood glucose and fluid and electrolyte balance. Homeostasis is the tendency of the body to maintain a state of balance or equilibrium while continually changing. As we grow older, there are a lot of things that might happen to our body. And as we grow mature, our organs are as well going old or getting old, maturing, in other words. So, mangyayari dyan is because of this, what we call the phenomenon of homeostasis or concept of homeostasis, we are able to adapt. Kung patanda na tayo, tapos yung mga organs natin is hindi na rin bata, patanda na rin. So, mag-a-adapt din sila. But in mere fact, we should be taking good care of ourselves because what will happen is too much or less is not good. Okay. Next, that will be the next page of your module. Okay, let me check here. Okay. Fundamental Needs of Man by Virginia Henderson. Fundamental. What do you mean fundamental? It means basic need. Well, we also have our hierarchies of basic needs, but according to Virginia Henderson, the fundamental needs of man would be the air to breathe, food and drink, elimination on how you eliminate the waste product from your body, mobility, what do you call this one? Movement, sleep and rest, clothing, maintaining internal environment, keep self clean, avoiding danger, communication, worship, work, play, learn. So that will be fundamental because as you can see there, as you check it individually, it is the needs for us to survive. These are the needs for us to survive. Right? So like keep self clean, avoiding danger, work, learn. Continuous process for humans is learning. So going to Maslow's hierarchy of basic needs, we have this is from Abraham Maslow's. So as you can see, physiological needs, that will be the basic needs. That would be air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction. Okay? So reproduction, it is normally mating, producing offspring. That will also a basic need for human beings now. Self needs, so that will be personal security, employment, resources, health, property. Self needs, and I mean safety needs. So that will conclude that you are secure. Love and belongingness, so that will be friendship, other things. self-esteem. So that will be for yourself, self-respect, recognition of your strength and freedom. And self-actualization would be your desire to become the most of everything. Okay? So there is also characteristics of basic human needs. So it is a more likely an explanation of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So all people have the same basic needs. However, each person's needs and reactions to those needs and reactions to those needs are influenced by the culture with which the person identifies. Okay, so yeah, there are cultures or there are tribes that clothing is not their basic needs because they are good all the way. Okay, something like that. So needs are interrelated. So in short, these all needs will interrelated to each other. Some needs can be deferred relative to their own priorities. An external or internal stimuli can precipitate or set off a need. Depends upon the situation. Okay. Failure to meet needs result in one or more imbalances, which can result to illness. So we're talking about homeostasis. A human being who perceives a need can respond in multiple ways to meet it. We do have our own thinking and our perception on how we can have those needs on, how we can fulfill those needs. Characteristics of self-actualization of person. So that will be realistic and objective. Judges people correctly. Okay, judges people correctly. More decisive. Has a clear notion on what is right and wrong. Active listener. Highly creative, flexible, spontaneous, courageous, and willing to make mistakes. This would be the characteristic self-actualization. Okay? Now, guys, I have a question for you, or some kind of a practice. In characteristics of self-actualization or self-actualized person, so this is it. The part that will be 10. You can realize or check those things if you do have those things already. And if you don't have those, one of them, wala kayo nun, all you have to do is just think on how you can achieve it. Maybe even myself, there is a lot of things that I'm not sure that I have in this number of characteristics. So low degree of self-conflict, self-control, problem-centered rather than self-centered, accepts the world what it is. Si Kalish, hierarchy of needs. Iba naman si Kalish. Let me check about Kalish. Richard Kalish adapted Maslow's hierarchy of needs into 6 levels rather than 5. Dinagdagan niya lang ng isa. He suggested that additional category between the physiological needs and the safety and security needs. These categories referred to as stimulation needs. This includes sex, activity, exploration, manipulation, and novelty. Okay. So parang iniwan niya lang yung tinanggal niya yung reproduction sa physiological needs, tapos ginawa niya sa stimulation. Tapos yung security, safety needs, kinuhaan niya rin for activities, exploitation, manipulation, and novelty. Stimulation needs, from the word stimulation, it is there is a stimuli for you to do so. Okay. Basic human rights. Let's check about this basic human rights. The standards that allow all people to live with dignity, freedom, equality, and justice, and peace. Every person has these rights simply because they are human beings. Human rights reflect the minimum standards necessary to people to live with dignity. Human rights give people the freedom to choose how they live, how they express themselves. I know, guys, that you already know what is human rights, and this is also mandated by our government laws. So there is a specific law that governs human rights. Okay, but human rights, if you think of it, it may build or break you. Karapatang pantao. Okay, so well, technically, human rights, it is your right to breathe. So may karapatan kang huminga ng malaya. So during this pandemic, there are people that complaining about their human rights to breathe, because we are obliged, the government obliging people to wear masks. So ang sa isip nila is, you are depriving our human rights to breathe. Bakit nyo kami it's like inoobliga? Bakit nyo kami inoobligang mag-mask? Ikarapatan namin huminga ng malaya. See, it is how you justify it. Well, I don't know what's going on about those matters, but what I can suggest is, human rights can be situational. Okay, it can be situational, and please think, if you can definitely think what is wrong and right. So if depriving your human rights for no reason, that would be a good thing to complain. But it is not depriving you to breathe while wearing a mask. So I don't know what's happening. Just to notice that it will be the other country, not in our country. Okay. Hindi rin naman ako nakakabasa ng news na may ganun din dito sa Pilipinas, but hopefully not. Characteristics of human rights. Universal. Human rights belong to all people. Tama. As humans, you are born with human rights. Okay? Hindi, like, aso pinanganak tapos may human rights. No. It is called human rights because you're human. That's it. Inalienable. Human rights cannot be taken away. Absolutely self-explanatory. Interconnected. Human rights are dependent on one another. So in short, human rights is somehow dependent to you as being human. Hindi ka bibigyan ng human rights na hindi naman siya nagpipicture out for you as human. For example, wala kang trabaho, tamad ka, tapos hihingi ka ng human rights na dapat bigyan ka ng trabaho. No. Because that will be your own discretion. Okay? So sabihin mo, karapatan pang tao kung magkaroon ng trabaho, kaya bigyan mo ako ng trabaho even if you are not qualified. No, that's not it works. Sorry. Indivisible. Human rights cannot be treated in isolation. So as I mentioned a while ago, we are humans, or man as a social being. Yeah. So we cannot leave merely. We cannot live alone technically, but yeah, that goes for other persons of thinking. If they mention that they can live alone, like happily they are alone, that will be fine. Okay. Next. Non-discriminatory. Human rights should be respected without prejudice. Okay. So as it says, non-discriminatory. So human rights should be respected without prejudice. So it should be respected without questioning it. It is your right. Let's check about this International Bill of Rights. International, it means other countries also practice this one, not in the Philippines. International kasi sabi. The right to equality and freedom from discrimination. So there's a lot of cases here that discrimination is still present in our country and other countries, but there is an international law for human rights. So there are legal bases about that one for discrimination. Gender discrimination, race discrimination, there's a lot of things. The right to live, liberty, and personal security. That is our needs. to live, liberty and personal security. Freedom from torture and degrading treatment. Yes, because we have the right to live and liberty and personal security, so we should not be tortured and degrading treatment. The right to equality before the law. Yes, it should be. If you break the law, whether you're rich or poor, that will be equal. But I don't put my comments on that one because that will be too opinionated. So I raise my case about that one. Next would be the right to fair trial. The same goes with equality before the law. The right to privacy. Absolutely, because we are territorial. We do have our own home, our piece of land, so that will be our privacy settings. Freedom of belief and religion, yes. If we are enculturated in that right to believe and religion, so that's it. Please, I cannot argue with any other religions at all because that will be unnecessary, because what you believe is what you believe and what I believe is what I believe. So never ever to argue between beliefs and religion, because that depends on one person. Okay, you cannot pinpoint that their beliefs are right and the others are wrong. No, that is enculturated. That is how tradition works. So just respect it. Respect the religions so that they will be respecting your religions. That's it. Freedom of opinion. So technically, we can perceive, we can decide for our things. As I mentioned a while ago, opinionated. So your opinion might be different from my opinion, but all you have to do is just respect my opinion and then let's talk about it. That's it. Freedom of opinion, it says. Right of peaceful assembly and association. Peaceful. A group of people, assembly, association, it's peaceful. So yeah, to avoid conflict. Right to participate in government. We all have the participation in our government. So that is the reason why we also have we also have our voices. Not necessarily to the extent that it will somehow dictate our lives. Like, hindi na nagtatrabaho, hindi na kumakain kasi puro na lang welga. I don't know for others. The right to social security as well. The right to work. We have the right to work, but that depends on our depends on our capabilities and qualifications, of course. Pwede ka naman magtrabaho kung anong gusto mong trabahuin. And it doesn't matter as long as you're capable of doing so. Okay? Kasi hindi nga po pwede nga, for example, you are applying for in an institution like let's say in a hospital. You are applying for in a hospital, but you don't have any medical related backgrounds. So is your employer gonna hire you? Tapos sasabihin mo lang na, i-hire mo ako because it is my right to work. Okay. Well, that's your mindset. The right to an adequate standard of living. We are striving for it. The right to education. Our government is helping us that one. The right to health, as well as for that one. More specifically that we are in a situation right now. Everything that the government do is for our sake. That's what we're going to do. The right to food and housing. It's our basic need, food and housing. So this would be the Patient's Bill of Rights in more summarized way. Right to life, right to quality healthcare and human treatment, right to informed consent to diagnostic and treatment procedures that would be for medical fields, right to religious belief, right to privacy, right of disclosure of information, right to confidential information. Right, 7 and 6 are most likely the same. The right to choose his physicians, right to treatment, right to refuse necessary treatment, other rights of patients when confined in the hospital. So, patients' rights. Right to medication. If you're in the hospital, there's our rights for this one. Okay. Module 1 is done. Okay. So, well, previously, may nagtanong doon sa sa group message natin na there are certain people that can communicate to animals like dogs and cats. Well, they are not able to communicate it, but they are called trainers. So in short, they're able to train those animals with their own. What are their basis of communication with the animals? Technically, as humans, we do have the capability to read and understand behaviors. So in short, it's a fight or flight stimulus. So if you were able to distinguish an animal's behavior, then it's good to go. Training them would be much harder if you are not a trained trainer to do so, because that will be a dangerous act. So it's not to answer your question, hindi sila talaga nakakipag-communicate sa mga hayop, sa mga aso or sa mga pusa. The way that they can communicate is they can understand and conceptualize yung behavior ng mga hayop. Kaya alam nila kung paano sila papasok. For example, if the dog is playful, then they do have the playtime. Is good to go, or protective, then you have back down. Parang ano lang natin yan, kagaya lang natin yan na kung gusto natin makapaglaro sa aso, parang nagiging aso din tayo. Di ba? Kung gusto natin makapaglaro sa bata, nagiging bata din tayo. That is called baby talking, something like that. But definitely other things may come because humans can understand behavior, so that is the reason why they were able to communicate with other beings. Okay, so for this one, I will be also posting another video for the module 2. Okay, so for now, this would be it. So thank you guys. Bye.